Hello and welcome back to another episode of Changing Room Thoughts. Today is such a special episode. I'm so freaking excited. I have my first guest speaker that's not my mom. If you're new here to Changing Room Thoughts, hi, I'm Karina. I'm your host. This content is all about fashion sustainability, fashion ethics, psychology, consumption. Basically, if you've ever had a critical thought about the clothes that you put on your body, this podcast is for you. We come out with new episodes every Monday morning, so you have something juicy to listen to on your way to work. And with that being said, let's introduce today's very special guest speaker. She is the tech fashion girly muse, living, breathing definition of mindful consumption, every tech fashion girly's dream. Very elite resume, went from Microsoft, Farfetch, and now she's doing her own thing. She started Hauteline. Hauteline serves the fashion girlies' it pieces of the season, but also works to infrastructurally improve the overproduction of ephemeral trending items. She is double duty Dartmouth grad and FIT student, the inimitable Kristie Chow.
Hello.
Welcome, Kristie.
Hello. Such a kind introduction. Oh my goodness.
I had to do it to her.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I've ever heard anything like that said about me before.
And of course, she's also a model.
Oh.
Naturally.
Just a little bit. But thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and to speak to all of your lovely listeners.
Let's start off with a little bit of like an icebreaker.
Okay.
I know it's so cheesy.
Let's do it.
But it gets people
Okay.
like comfortable. If you could wear one thing for the rest of your life, it'd be...
Okay. I gave this some thought. I have this one Nanushka houndstoothy coat, and the reason I would go for that is because it has a very clean shape, so it kind of just, it gives what it needs to give. And my favorite category of clothing is outerwear because it's just all over your body, and it's, you know, it's the first thing that people see. So I think it has a lot of, you know, bang for your buck, if you will, in terms of the different clothing categories, and it's just cozy.
Absolutely. I don't think I really understood the importance of nice outerwear until I moved to New York because I used to live in California. It wasn't that cold. But here, like, I have one puffer. I wear that bitch every day. It gets so cold. And like, yeah, like you better like that puffer to be
You're
wearing
it every day out of necessity. It's not even, it's just survival at that point.
I love that. I'm going to use that logic and reasoning next time
For sure.
I want to buy some outerwear.
Sure.
Love it. Okay. Another icebreaker. Favorite fashion influencer of the moment.
Okay, I thought about this one. So she's not of the moment. I think she's just of all time. And do y'all know Brenda hashtag? I'm sure you know Brenda hashtag.
Stop.
I'm sure you know Brenda hashtag.
I'm blushing.
But she's
Ultimate
just
crush.
so hilarious and so high fashion at the same time, which is just such a unique combination. And I love me like a rare Pokemon influencer, like someone who kind of has
Someone
their
who's
own
actually original.
very specific spice. And I also am obsessed from also like a sustainability standpoint with her super strong and strict design system, which I'm sure you're familiar with, is just all black and all white. Those are the only two things that she wears in terms of colors. And I aspire to a strong design system. Like, I don't think I'm there yet, but it's very aspirational. So Brenda hashtag.
Absolutely. I feel like all the fashion girlies. I love her.
Bugging out Brenda if you're out there.
Listen
Listen to us.
No, I totally agree. And I feel like she's just so honest in an industry that seems really opaque and intimidating. Even though she makes a lot of content that is very open, I'm still intimidated by her just because
Oh my God.
she's so cool.
She's
and
so
like,
cool and so
yeah.
funny and so successful at such a young age. But
Yeah.
in love with her. Always.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for letting us know a little bit about your appreciation for outerwear, Brenda hashtag. So tell us a little bit about like what we're standing in front of today. Like what is Hauteline?
What is Hauteline? This is hard. Should I go into like my background?
Go for it.
Okay, great. So I am originally from Thailand and Malaysia. I started the sustainability club at my high school as a freshman, and like all we did was like recycle plastic bottles for a couple of years, but that's always been sort of in my bones. And when I came to America for college, I kind of decided to honestly do computer science for college, for my major, out of practicality, in the sense that as an international student, I knew that I needed a job after college and I needed a reason to be hired. So I figured, why not? It was 2016, so that was when Facebook was really popping off, and I figured, why not? Let's do something practical for my major. So I ended up taking a job at Microsoft after college, also for visa purposes, since I was and continue to be non-American. But in my bones, I always knew I wanted to start something. It's always kind of been in there, and I was just waiting for the right idea. In retrospect, I don't think that actually makes any sense. It's not that the right idea ever just like falls into your lap from the sky. You kind of end up having to figure it out as you go along. But the idea for Hauteline is really a rental and resale platform that's highly curated. Think of it as a modern marketplace, which shares the revenue from rental and resale back with designers. So therefore giving them a way to earn money basically without necessarily producing new stuff.
I do want to like double click into how your background has kind of shaped Hauteline. Like you said, you knew you always wanted to start something and ideas don't just like fall into your lap. How do you think your background and your interests from like maybe a young age or growing up has kind of shaped this eventual like arrival
Totally.
at Hauteline?
Totally. I would say the sustainability and sort of love for the planet and love for the outdoors has always been there. And when I moved to New York, I kind of had that sexual awakening that fashion girlies have when they move to a big city, New York, London, Paris, whatever. And in terms of how I sort of stumbled across like resale and rental and reuse of clothing, I would say that came about when I was at Farfetch. I was specifically working at Stadium Goods, which is the sneaker resale part of the business. And that was at a time where streetwear and Jordans were sort of everywhere. And that's kind of where I stumbled upon just how vast the resale business can be, how many units of things can be sold secondhand, firsthand. And that's kind of where I started thinking like, there's still a lot of space in the market for improvements. And I mean, like there are plenty of great companies that do secondhand and rental right now, but I genuinely think there's space for more.
Speaking of like making space in that secondhand market, how did you arrive at the very unique value proposition that is Hauteline? Because like the clothes we have behind us are for a very specific persona.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's lots of like rental and secondhand stuff out there. Like why this unique combination of like emerging designer luxury rental?
Yeah, to be honest, I think I kind of stumbled upon it. I think I started thinking about what segment of clothing isn't really being served in the rental market right now. And I think we have, you know, obviously Rent the Runway, pioneer of rental fashion. And I would say they focus a lot on sort of that ready to wear Alice and Olivia vibe of clothing. And then we have Nuuly, which is, you know, they popped off just very recently. I think they've only been around for, don't quote me on this, maybe 3 years. And
that's the Urban Outfitter
the
one,
Urban
right?
Outfitters one. And they specialize sort of in that like Anthropologie, Urban Outfitters, slightly more mass market, fast fashion segment. So I realized, well, I guess I was just sitting on my couch and was like, there's not really a rental segment that serves me, you know? I think it comes out of a personal need, probably. I love Alice and Olivia, but I mean, just not necessarily my taste and my personal style. So I think I figured, you know, there's got to be more than one of me out there. And I think there's a market for it.
That's so true, because something you said earlier really stuck with me, which was the whole sexual awakening of city girls when they like move into these fashion capitals and then realize like, oh, this is like the Carrie Bradshaw-ification of my life right now. Like the fashion girlies need like a clothing rental space that like Nuuly and Rent the Runway isn't. And I feel like Rent the Runway at the very beginning was like kind of trying.
I think so.
But then kind of like lost that way. Maybe like COVID focused heavily on like wedding and stuff like
and
that.
And workwear, I think, which has obviously changed.
Yeah. And like, okay, maybe this is like shady of me to say, but
do it.
Why would I rent basic clothes? I'm sorry.
She's sorry.
Like if it's something that I really needed in my wardrobe because I would wear it with everything else,
then you'd
like,
already have it.
I'd already have I would buy it.
Why would I buy like a good quality version of it?
Yeah, why would I lease something that I need to wear every day? Why would I need to lease workwear?
Okay, I have sort of a vision for what we're gonna like lease and what we're gonna buy in the future. So on the topic of like why would you lease basics, I don't think you should. I think from a sustainability perspective, you want to have a part of your closet that's just rinse and repeat. It's constantly being washed and dried. You're just constantly putting it on your body, and like those are the go-to default things that define your personal style. And I guess what Hauteline hopes to be a part of going forward is you're going to have, you know, those basics, then you're going to have sort of in-betweens, and then I think where rental really needs to come in is to fill in the rest. So I think for, you know, occasion wear, for travel, for parties, for girls' nights, for boys' nights, whatever. I think that's kind of where I'm hoping Hauteline can kind of change consumer behavior and help us rethink, do we need to buy everything in our closet, I think is the real question. And I think there's a lot of space in closets for non-boring items that we don't necessarily need to own but can still be new to us.
Absolutely. I literally made this TikTok this morning. I woke up, I chose violence. I was like, I'm so bored.
I saw this.
Yeah.
I've already watched said TikTok.
But I was like, I'm so bored of everything in my closet. Yeah. I feel like a lot of the sustainable fashion girlies kind of like run into this problem where when you index heavily on sustainability, you're lowering your level of like consumption overall, because just like having to research what you're going to buy that's new or going through the act of like thrifting and vintage, it just takes more time.
Totally.
And inevitably you see all these other fashion girlies that's like, Zara, H&M. Like, I'm going to buy this, I bought that. And it's either like they have a ton of money and they can buy all of like the Revolve dresses that they want, or they're like buying all this fast fashion stuff and you're just kind of like...
Or influencer gifting, which once again, I cannot keep up. I would love to, but I cannot.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said about like the rent the runway strategy, which like focused very heavily on wedding. But like you said, like when you're a city girl, when you're a fashion girly, occasion wear is more than just a wedding. It's like the dinner parties, like conferences, like
it's literally just weekend.
Yeah.
Or it's weeknight.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
Yeah. And I feel like, especially with how I'm feeling right now, and I don't want to like buy something, like Hauteline actually makes a lot of sense for me because I'm bored. I want something, I want to feel inspired by my clothing. Like I truly and deeply believe that we all deserve to like feel like we can express ourselves authentically through the way that we dress without having to make this trade-off of like, all right, so I'm fucking over some like poor woman in the Xinjiang province in China with like where they're being forced into like slavery. Like
it's like, why is it one or the other? It's like, why is it either good for my wallet and terrible for someone else, or bad for my wallet and good for maybe good for someone else? Why is that something that we have to grapple with as consumers?
Yeah.
It's an interesting question.
Yeah.
But totally. And I think actually, interestingly, now that we're talking about like no buy, one of my super fashion girly friends recently, keep in mind, this is a girl who buys everything. She buys so much. And she presented the idea that she's going to do a no buy 2024 to me the other day, which I'm super proud of her and super impressed because like, wow, I don't know if I could do that. And I literally run like a rental company. But I have a feeling that that's going to start cropping up more and more, people either doing no buy months or years or whatever. That's a great sign for like the industry as a whole, because I think it's good that we're getting tired of buying excessively.
Yeah, and I think it's also like, to your point about sharing the revenue from your rental business with the brands that produce like the clothing that you're renting out. Inevitably, it like sucks that there's all this onus on the consumer to do like no buy years or like lower their consumption. The onus is on the consumer to like not fuck over other people, but it's not on like most major brands to like not do that infrastructurally. One of the things that I respect the most about what you're doing is the fact that you're focused on like a long-term infrastructural change, because like I am so sick of all the greenwashing.
Same. So difficult, because I think at first and this isn't even that long ago, I'm thinking maybe 2017. At first when all these like sustainable fashion brands started popping up, it was like, wait, this is so exciting. Like I as a consumer am thrilled that there's finally a good way for me to spend. But I was also in college and a $250 dress was just out of the question at the time. So I think it's time that there's really a solution that's not a veil of sustainability around maybe not so sustainable fashion that's also super expensive. Like, I don't think that necessarily serves a wide enough audience to make a real difference in the industry.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this on our walk over here earlier today, but there is this growing audience, target consumer category that I think is very much a lot of you guys, a lot of like the everyday corporate, tech, education, whatever fashion girlies that are like very educated about fashion sustainability and what it does to other people and enjoy dressing well and expressing themselves through clothes that isn't being heard by either the fashion industry or by like their place of work. I feel like more solutions need to be made for like this group of people, of like very fashion conscious yet like sustainably conscious people that people in the fashion industry are not really listening to. Like, I think I've said this before, but like I think there's a real bifurcation when it comes to like what's hot in fashion, what's like a trending or like it item, what are the emerging like cool brands. Like fashion as media is not talking to like fashion infrastructure, supply chain, and sustainability. Like they do not link up. Anna Wintour is not going to some factory, you know, in Italy and like checking out what the leather makers are doing. Like, frankly, most of the people that read Vogue, like, are interested, but, like, not that interested. But it's up to, like, founders like Kristie to create solutions that, like, put the onus on sustainability back in an infrastructural way to brands and companies. Because, like, just on a scale wise, like, your super fashionable friend who wants to do a no by 2024, that's really great, but we need like millions of her. Is that realistic? Like that's literally not realistic.
No.
Yeah, and we're never gonna stop consuming. I love fashion. You love fashion. Like it or not, however much you want to unlearn all of this consumption is joy. Like we have been raised, like indoctrinated to enjoy it.
Growing in Southeast Asia, the activity of choice with my family was shopping. That's just all we did on the weekends. I don't know if that's the case here, but I assume at least some families practice that, and we just went shopping every weekend. It was like going to the park.
Yeah. And there's something also like psychologically rewarding things about shopping too. Like hunting for a good deal. Oh, yeah. Feeling like the effort you put in has elevated your quality of life. Like all of these little triggers, they're like, you're not gonna get away from it as much as you would like to.
As much as you would like to. And I think, honestly, real talk, from the brand side, the more I learn, the more I realize that basically everything we want and we desire is PR. It's fueled by thousands of dollars of placement and advertising and marketing and all sorts of things that like even I am still learning about. But pretty much everything we want was manufactured. The want is manufactured. I'm sure you're familiar, but a lot of, you know, magazine and press and blog and online placement is paid for. You don't generally win the Allure Beauty of the Year for free. And I think that bleeds into everything from, you know, obviously fashion, but also restaurants. Like, which new hot Brooklyn pasta place are you eating at this weekend was probably also paid for. Yeah, everything is a dollar sign in the industry.
Yeah, like Kylie Jenner winning, most innovative brand of the year?
From Wall Street Journal.
From the day before her brand launch.
Everything is a dollar sign.
I'll be damned if some Wall Street bro tells me what the most innovative fashion
Oh my God.
Stop. You wear a Patagonia vest to work. Don't talk to me. I'm so mean today.
I love it. That's the vibe. It's December. It's the holiday cheer coming out.
Speaking of like all of what you think you want being actually placed by PR and like paid, sponsored merit when it comes to fashion, where do you go to actually learn about the fashion that you like and develop your own like personal style devoid of like product placement?
I think it's hard. I don't think any of us can live in a bubble, especially with something as furious and fast as fashion. But I've been really enjoying Substacks lately. I'm sure you also read some of these, but I think because they are reader supported, for the most part, they are brutally honest, and also in their own way, smaller communities that I think the writers maybe feel a little safer to be dead honest.
Like we are today.
Like we are today, in spite of the fact that this is a very public forum.
Yeah.
Yes, basically. So some that I like are Magazine by Laura Riley, obviously The Cereal Aisle by Leandra, and Viv the Mole. Yeah.
I actually really need to get more into Substacks. I didn't know any of the ones you
Oh my goodness. Okay, yes. I would highly recommend. And then there's also, I think her name is Amy Odell, and she used to work at Vogue, I think.
Wait, I heard of this. She has a segment on.
Yes, she does Substack, and basically her whole thing is, because I'm reader supported, I don't have to work within the constraints that I used to at Vogue and can actually speak honestly. So I think that's probably the best way to learn right now, I would say. Other than honestly, like old books. books, because I feel like that honestly kind of came before a time of the frenzy of today. So like old fashioned books, or honestly like fashion textbooks, can be a good starting point.
Yeah. Did you get these fashion textbooks from FIT?
I did not. I think I
just bought them.
I just went for it. Yeah. I think
she's a true
this
fashion
was
nerd.
during this was during the phase of like I still worked as a software engineer, but I was always craving more fashion in my life. So
relatable. That leads me to my next question. You are like the poster child for like tech fashion girly.
Am I?
What? Yes. What is your rallying cry for all the fashion tech girlies out there?
Rallying cry.
Yeah.
To all the fashion girlies, I would say it's to not limit yourself to being either scientific or creative. I don't think that binary is helpful in any way, and I think it's super made up, and you don't need to follow the rules, and you don't need to just be the tech girly in order to be successful in your career. And who cares what the men think? I think I grew up thinking that in order to be perceived as smart, I had to be all the way scientific and all the way tech, but moving to New York and I guess just like attending my first fashion week, I was just like blown away by the fact that like I could still do my tech job and wear these amazing clothes and meet these amazing people. And I think that's kind of where I got started. But I would say just kind of put yourself out there, do the creative work that you've always been wanting to, pick up the hobbies that you've always wanted to, and you're still amazing and smart. So just index more into the creative. Why not?
I love that. Yeah. Speaking of like fashion, tech, fashion business, whatever, girlies tapping more into their creative side, I'd love to see some of the things that Hauteline has to offer the fashion girls.
I love a good show and tell. So, continuing on from our discussion about the importance of a good puffer or a good outerwear, I think my favorites of the moment are, will you hold this?
Yes.
The Sandy Liang Balmy puffers in both colors.
Oh my God, you have two colors?
I'm obsessed with the fact that they are a spicy way to stay warm this winter.
Yeah.
I get puffer fatigue personally in the winter,
Yeah.
and by the time it's February, I'm just over it,
Right.
and I need to get rid of my puffer and just need to figure out a better way to look cute in the winter. So I would plug these because I see them really eating this winter.
100%. I love the bowification of just like
The
everything
bowification,
lately.
and they're everywhere. They're
I love the
cute.
back.
And I think one of my friends was asking me about this the other day, and she was saying, are they, too like not warm? And these are super heavy. Like you can feel it yourself, but there's just so much weight in here.
Yeah.
That I would highly recommend.
Gorgy.
And otherwise, I guess, it's party season shortly for both holiday parties and New Year. So we have, these lovely mirror palette fairy dresses that are as sparkly as ever. And I would also go for this Paloma wool Yowsi dress, which on the hanger does not look too hot, but when it's on, looks amazing because of this little fishtail at the bottom that gives you this sort of like mermaidy, fairy like charm.
Yeah, and the feel of the fabric is just
Really,
like,
yes,
it's really buttery.
Not what you would expect. Is what I love about being able to touch and feel clothing in person. And one last plug, I suppose, for the holidays special is this silk dress, and she's just so soft. And the perfect sort of avocado color for your Christmas parties. So
it's like Christmas without being like Grinch.
Exactly. And then I know I said this was the last one, but that's
not
behind you.
Keep going.
If you will pull it out.
This one?
The pink one on the wall.
Oh, this is the one
For
that
the cat
Lisa
girlies,
from Blackpink wore, right? Oh my God.
For the cat girlies, for the dog girlies, for the pink girlies, for the coquette girlies. She is for you. She is seriously insane because Kristen Mallison hand embroidered this cat.
Wow.
And it took, I think, 6 weeks of pre-order for it to get here. So
how many of these are there?
There's one.
This is the one.
Like,
so she's
not making any more of this design.
Like Lisa's butt was in this.
No, not Lisa.
Okay.
But there's like there's one of this and there's no more that will be coming our way.
Wow.
Yes.
That's really freaking special.
We love. So again, holiday party, New Year, or just being cute. Why not?
That's crazy that this is hand embroidered.
I know, it's crazy. And I think like if you actually see it in person, you realize like, oh my gosh, that is wearable art.
Insane. Thank you so much for showing us this. Is this available on Sunday Bites? How much is it to rent for a day?
50 something, I think. It's not for a day though. It's for 4 days.
Oh, okay.
We do 4 days.
50 for 4 days?
Yes, which is like
wait, that's actually so
weekend.
Good.
Yeah. It's like for we do 4 days, 8 days, 16 days, and 30 days. Like
nice.
We changed it up from the daily price because people found that
I like that.
stressful.
Yeah, because you gotta like bring it back and then
I think it's like less stressful to have these.
That makes a lot of sense.
Durations.
And so are a lot of these products like, obviously if you're a New York fashion girl, you could come and like come to the showroom, try things on and like pick them up in person. But I'm guessing there's like shipping and return labeling, all of that as well.
For sure. Yes. Orders are free shipping if they are above $50. And in terms of returns, those are all included. And you don't have to clean anything. We will do it for you.
I love that. I'm gagged. How often do you guys refresh your inventory?
I have been on sort of a buying freeze as of late because as we were speaking about a little earlier, I am reaching out to brands directly to scale up our inventory. So right now it's sort of been the same, but I would encourage you to look out for new arrivals in the new year.
Okay. So exciting. I also love that too because I feel like ultra fast fashion, like I don't need that. Like, I really don't need that. But from one season to the next, I would appreciate like a couple new things. So this is like the perfect like kind of cadence, and I love you have something for everybody. The super really sexy mirror palette, like you got something in here for any kind of like fashion girly, which I really appreciate.
That's the hope. And we're going to continue to curate and expand our selection. So yeah, we'll keep serving the girls we're trying to serve, I think is the goal.
I love that. Last question. Speaking of like what's in the future for Hauteline, like what's coming up, since we're near the end of this year, what are you kind of like manifesting for yourself for Hauteline in like the long term, in say like 5 years?
Okay. I am manifesting great brand partnerships with brands that you and I both love so that we can scale up and make a serious impact both in the fashion industry and for sustainability. And I guess, the ultimate goal, and maybe this will happen in 5 years, maybe it'll take a little longer, but I'm going to keep working at it, is to sort of reconfigure the proportion of clothes that most of us rent versus buy in our closets. I think right now it's close to 100% of buy, and not very many people do rent, but I think sort of the future that I envision is one where everyone kind of has a portion of their closet that they only rent and don't need to own.
I love that. Cheers to the future.
Cheers to the future. If there's one thing I could plug,
go for it.
I would plug that our showroom that we are sitting in right now will be officially opening in January. So if you're in New York and you'd like to try on any of the pieces you see behind us, or just come here and vibe, it'll be open and appointments are available on our website.
Yeah, some of these pieces you couldn't even try on somewhere else, even if you wanted to. Like that Kristen Malliston skirt, if you want to give it a shot, like this is the only place where you can do it.
This is the one place.
This is literally this studio in Brooklyn. It's the one place you could try it out. So check it out. Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast
Thank
today.
you for having me. This was so much fun.
I had a ball. I'm definitely going to try on some of these clothes after this. And if you guys haven't already, please check out Hauteline. One of the coolest fashion products out there at the moment.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kristie.
Thanks, Karina.
Bye.
Bye.
See you next Monday.
See you guys.